Meow. Hey, friends. It's Modern Relics Podcast. I'm Angel.
Comrades,
He's Lucky.
patriots.
It's time.
Hi, guys.
Did you just call them comrades?
Yeah.
I love that. How's your week been, man?
Not too shabby.
Yeah.
Lots of work. Been works pretty busy. I'm actually
Know that feeling.
weirdly,
Yeah.
this time of year is our drop-off season where everyone in October in this area, everyone goes out in the woods to go kill animals.
Yes, that's right. It's
which I
animal
fully
killing
support,
time.
except for the fact that it like makes the town a ghost town and all businesses kind of take a
Mhm.
nosedive. And that's tattooing's no exception,
Yeah.
obviously. But I am literally booked till the second week of December
Wow.
every day. Like every appointment, every day, booked entirely until the second week of December.
Nice.
And now December's about a third full already. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't know if people are like, screw it. Like the panic of
Yeah.
their crumbling economy and the election coming up. They're just like, well, I better get it in before World War III.
Probably
And
yes.
so they're all just booking tattoo appointments to get that last tattoo before they're living Mad Max.
Dude, and that marketing sells itself. You should just lean into it, you know? Be like,
Really?
election
Yeah.
got you down? Come get a tattoo before it all goes away. And then don't ever
Yeah.
explain what it is or where it's going.
Yep. That sounds, yeah, it's absolutely perfect. But yeah, outside of that, business has been good. Family's good. I got a guest artist in town who's staying at my house for the next couple of days.
Nice.
With Mike Torres. And so yeah, my family actually in news, my family, I have already been obviously, but my wife, who they're getting baptized tomorrow, all three
Nice.
of them, and at our church, and I'm going to be helping with the baptism, but
Mhm.
my wife got baptized at a Catholic church when she was like 18 months, so she doesn't really count it. She's like, I'm not Catholic anymore, and I also didn't choose.
Mhm.
But my kids actually came to me, and my wife came to me and said, we want to get baptized. And I said, let's make it happen. So we had a meeting about it with one of our pastors yesterday, and went over everything, and we're going to be doing that tomorrow evening. Which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty awesome thing for our family. But
I'm more
outside of
excited that the cutaway for this pod is that your wife now supports a woman's right to choose ellipses baptism locations.
Yeah, I think that should be the headline
Yeah.
of the podcast. Yeah.
I might, when I re-upload this to iHeart and
changes her
Spotify,
mind.
it's probably what it's going to say. This just in. Coming up next.
She'll be real excited about that.
Oh, yeah. Full clickbaity. It's going to be awesome. That's why we're in the business, man. Internet radio superstardom starts right here. I don't know if anyone knew that, but there it is. That's how it happens. No, that's exciting, dude. So you
what about
said
you?
Me? Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez. So a lot of work has been going on, which has been great. It drastically dropped temperature. It was
Really?
like 91 degrees, and it's like, good morning, 52. Like,
Whoa.
wow, okay. Now that's not cold, but it is when you're used to 91.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Like it's in those. We're in the brief week-long period where you start the day with a hoodie and you end the day in a tank top kind of thing. So like as it is now, it's like 82 degrees outside, and it's about 20 minutes to 6 p.m. Pacific. So this is usual, but yeah, it's starting to get cold. So a lot of work, a lot of this, that, and the other, as it were. Work is going crazy. I've noticed people are going crazy. It's fear porn season. It's election season. So the polls, early voting opened up in my state, in Nevada state, on Saturday.
Yeah.
And
Same here. Same in Idaho.
I was the first person in line. So
Really?
no, I was not the first person in line, but I was like, I was there within like the first, I want to say hour, and it's a Saturday. I've got things to do. I'm a man about town. I've got gun ranges to go play at. I've got time away from work to go celebrate. I'm doing stuff, man. I'm on it. So I'm like, I'll go early. There was a line, and it was at the senior center. The closest in my precinct, the closest one to me was at the senior center. And it's in like right on the edge of a city park or whatever. So tons of parking, right? So I park, the lot is jam packed full, and there's a small line that's already out the door, kind of trailing down the sidewalk, and people are just flooding in. And I was like, this is interesting to me on a few points. One, I haven't lived in a state where I haven't online voted or mailed in a vote, because that was the only option other than go stand in the rain and hope they count your vote at all the night before the election, right? So we were kind of just subject to, all right, well, if this is how you vote, this is how you vote. And in most of those places, my vote kind of didn't matter anyway. Whether it was a strong Republican candidate vote or an independent vote or whatever it was blue party line all the way from the top to the bottom. So this was a new experience, right?
Right.
I was amazed at the amount of turnout that continued to, by the time I got out of the building, that line was 3 times as long. And what struck me as really cool, being the first time voting in an environment like this where you're kind of an adult and you're actually aware of stuff, was the amount of people helping one another out. Because nobody was talking about who they're voting for. Nobody had, their Harris t-shirt on or their MAGA hat on. You know what I mean? They were all just like, let's maybe not start a riot, because you could feel the tension in the public just being there for that reason. We all know why we're here. All of us know what we're doing here. So, but the cool part was that they were like helping old people on walkers and stuff, like cut the line and be like, you go ahead. And they're just like shuffling people toward the front, which I thought was cool. So you go in, you go all the way through this big building and then down a long hallway, and then you hang a left. And essentially, they confirm that the ballot that you have is an official state-issued ballot, and it has the appropriate precinct on it. Although I could have voted in Reno if I lived in Vegas if I wanted to. They give you a little card, and then you go to your little ballot area, and they're like standing cubicles. They don't have like the full shower curtain type of thing. And you fill out all your stuff, and there's a lot of initiatives for like state-specific initiatives, up to and including one regarding changing the way we vote to a pick the party and the party picks their favorite kind of thing.
Like a closed primary?
Yeah. And I was like, not really a fan of that. And then there was a lot of stuff on raising our property taxes for various things. Do you want us to raise your property taxes for this, for that, for the police station, for the fire department, for frivolous whatever stuff? Hello, chat. The prune says good evening. Good evening back to you.
Good evening, sir.
So then you fill out your stuff, you drop it off into the lockbox, and somebody like pats you on the head when you come out of your little cubicle area, and they give you the I voted sticker. And then you take your voting card back and hand it to the person that allows to pass it to the next one. And I think that's how they're keeping track. So I walked outside, and there was like 2, maybe 3 times the length of the line, and people are still pouring in. And that was day 1. It was the very first hour of the very first day in the neighborhood that I'm in and stuff. So it was really interesting to see that, followed by a barrage of people knocking on the door all weekend long, like, hey, you're a registered party member. We're just checking in to see if you voted or if you want to, and if you know where to go and all that stuff. And,
you got good precinct committeemen is what you've got.
Yep. They're door knocking. He's just like, don't care. You're a registered party member. We're pretty sure this is you, and we got you. If there's anyone else that's a voter in the house, we just wanted to give you all of the printouts on where you can go to go vote. So, and I'm like, I beat you to it. I was there this morning. I have no more ballots to cast. But thanks. No problem. And off they went. Right. So, that's kind of where we're at, followed by chasing a ton of people off the porch that are trying to leave door hangers. Kamala Harris is going to save the world. Donald Trump's going to save the world. Kamala Harris is going to save the world. And it's just like, no soliciting.
Yeah.
It says so
Yeah.
all over my stuff, man. You can't miss it, especially when you try to knock on the door. Oh, we're not selling anything. So you're trying to solicit a vote from me? Like,
Yeah.
me thinks you not know what solicit mean. So that's what it's like down here. There is a lot. I don't know what it's like where you're at, man, and I'd love to hear it. But there's a lot of people that still make human contact door to door, from hi, I'm introducing you, I'm a so and so candidate, to I would love to sell you solar energy, to, you know, would you like
We
to
don't
hear
get so
about the
much of
Mormon
this.
church? Like, they're everywhere.
We don't get so much of the sales pitches or the
Yeah.
or the JWs, you know, knocking on the door so much. On occasion, we'll get somebody who's like looking to you know, do your landscaping,
Sure.
you know, business or whatever, but it's very rare. We
You-
do have very active precinct committeemen.
Yeah.
And so that is their job as a precinct committeeman, is to walk their precincts.
Mm-hmm.
They should be going out, and they've got a list of registered people in their party that they can go talk to try to encourage them to vote or give them information about different candidates.
Yep.
And that's kind of the task that is given when you get elected to be a precinct committeeman. And I don't know if in Nevada they're elected or appointed. Here they're elected.
They're elected.
So they're actually on your ballot. And due to whatever precinct you're from, that person will be, or there might be challengers, which is rare. But if there's challengers, you just have to know which one you want to go with, like any other election.
Yeah, and my guy looked like he had been bitten by a dog, screamed at, told to get off someone's porch. Like, he was not having a good day by the time he got to me. But I'm like, I know I'm a registered party member, and I know why you're on the doorstep, and I know I'm not going to rip your head off because you're just making sure that I'm actually going to do what I registered to go do.
Right. They have a map of only registered Republicans.
Yep.
They're not going to Democrat doors. However, there's a lot of what we have here in the shape of rhinos, which are Democrats who just register as Republicans in order to kind of.
They'll just talk to a face, right?
Yeah, basically. And so, you know, they're opposition Republicans essentially. So they're anti-Trump Republicans. They're, you know, there's whole groups of those that are registered. And as long as they're registered, they're on the list. So you can get some pretty hostile people. Most of them are friendly, but there are some that are going to be hostile.
So chat says that's actually pretty amazing that people were so great about helping you guys partake in one of their civic duties. It is and it isn't, to the point that Lucky's about to describe. There's a lot of skullduggery that goes on. You know, like someone's going to slide in because you're a registered party member, and then they're going to swashbuckle with words away and potentially try to get you to sign some stuff.
Especially in a swing state.
And I am a massive battleground state for the West.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like here in
but
Idaho,
yes, it is otherwise.
We're deep red, and so they realized 25 years ago that if you had a D in front of your, you know, in front of your name, you're not going to get elected to any office. It just won't happen. Everyone just votes R down the line.
That's
so
right.
They went, oh, all right. Well, then I'm an R. I'll just vote like, or I'll just, you know, if I get voted in, I'll just act like a, you know, and any of the voters will just register as Republican too, so they feel like they have more influence on steering it left rather than the Democrat. So at certain points, it doesn't really matter, but in like swing states, it kind of does. So like they know how to, which is actually going back to the point where you said you had an initiative to close your primaries. And I actually am in agreement with that. I think that all primaries should be closed. I think they should be party, because it's not, for instance, if you have an open primary, it's just kind of a free for all. Everyone kind of just, all the names are on the ballot and you kind of just get to pick as all the voters do, right? That's not the point of a primary. That's the point of the why am I blanking on the word? The end election. So, but the primary is the general election.
Yeah. It's
The primary is literally for the parties to pick. Independents
yeah,
get a free pass right to the general.
right.
So it's like the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, they get to, as a party, pick who they're sending to the general. And that's what a closed primary is. But when you get, the only reason to open up that primary is to steer the direction from the other party.
Right.
So basically, like, a bunch of Democrats don't like living in a red state. So basically, they want the primaries opened in order for them to have influence on the Republican primary, which has nothing to do with the general outside of they can steer to say, like, okay, you've got three guys, they're going to pick the guy who's the most, in their words, moderate, but the most left leaning out of the Republican candidates, and jump in and put their fingers on the scale in order to diminish the guy that the conservatives would probably pick and pick the guy who's more left leaning because they all jumped in on the primary.
Yeah,
And that's typically why they do that.
I'm still a little old school and gangster where I want the people's voice to pick the person best of and best in.
And that's how it's sold. It's sold that way.
Yeah, because we have a
So-
bunch of party members that are paid off to vote at whatever way they want to, full of rhinos, and it's been that way since the dawn of time, right? If you look at the area that I'm in, it's just blue enough to let the debauchery continue, right?
Mhm.
But it's just red enough to keep the outside edges from eating the middle or eating the heart of the city. So it's like,
Right.
you know, a lot of these dudes
also-
are very, 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 very big swindlers. And I mean, they'll vote whichever way the populace goes.
You have to be very careful with open primaries because it is the gateway to ranked choice voting. You can't have ranked choice voting without open primaries. It can't exist. So
well, and I'm
typically the
souring
gate that
to
they
the
swing
idea.
open.
Yeah, I'm souring to the idea with an open border. Let's not get that twisted. Like in a perfect world, idealistically, I think I'm right on that, or at least that's spiritually the way I would want to march forward as a constituent of the state. Considering that all of that is predicated on the census, which is being absolutely exploding right now because of the open border. I'm souring to the idea big time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's actually Prop 1 here in Idaho right now.
Yeah.
And it's one of Aaron's biggest fights right now. My wife, for those listeners who don't know, my wife is and in fact, a lot of people in the state, it's not just my wife, but we're fighting Prop 1, which they are selling it as an open primary initiative, which we actually just last session, actually, they banned open primaries legally. They voted on it. It is not allowed to happen here. And now they built a petition up to put it on the actual ballot this year or this session, this election. And now we've got a situation where we actually have open primaries, but if you go into the verbiage and you go actually read it, it's not open primaries. The way that it is described is jungle primaries. And there's a big difference between the two. And on top of that, they're also shoehorning in, and they're not telling anyone. They're going, don't you want the vote to go back to the people? It should be with the people. So they're getting everyone to sign this petition. They even duped my sister. And they're lying about how it's framed. And so, but really what it is they're trying to get ranked choice voting, which is in the actual bill. If you vote yes for it on Proposition 1, then you're actually not voting for open primaries. You're voting for jungle primaries by definition, and ranked choice voting, which is in the actual bill.
Yeah.
And so that's it. It was a giant Trojan horse, and they pulled it off. And now we're battling to keep us from going to a ranked choice voting and open primaries. We want our primaries closed. We want to make our own decisions. We don't want any outside influence. And we absolutely don't want a jungle primary. And we absolutely do not want ranked choice voting. It destroyed Alaska. If you look, and everywhere it is, they're actually trying to get it out of Alaska now because 50 years, if you watch, you can go down the line, 50 years, every election, Republican, 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 Republican. Ranked choice voting, Democrat immediately. And so it's the way and if you understand ranked choice voting, which there's a couple of videos you can look on.
Your wife did a
YouTube.
great one. She re-aired it
Yeah.
from TikTok, which I will not install,
Right.
to Instagram, which I'm about to uninstall. She does a really good breakdown of all of that. That was actually a really well done video. I watched it, I think yesterday or the day before. It is very complicated.
Yeah, and people don't realize that it's designed to be complicated, and it's designed to actually shed off the top and bottom and give you the guy in the middle who will get 15 actual percent of the vote. And if you don't rank everybody, if you go, well, I just want this guy, I don't want all these, your ballot gets thrown out. It does not count. And that's it.
So I can read it. I can read it to the listeners. I have the Nevada version of this on the ballot right now in front of me. It says, under the current law, Nevada primary elections are closed elections in which the candidates for partisan office of a major political party and candidates for nonpartisan office must be nominated at the primaries election by a vote of the voters registered to each respective major political party. Only registered voters of a major political party may take part in the selection of the candidates for a major political party and for the general election during the primary election. Voters registered to a minor party or not affiliated with the party may only vote for nonpartisan contests during a primary election, which, by our state's count anyway, because they post it right on the state of Nevada website, would kill the independent party entirely.
Yes.
This I mean, would kill it. Article 15, Section 14 of the Nevada Constitution currently provides that a plurality of votes given by an election by the people shall constitute a choice. This means the candidate who receives the majority of the votes, regardless of whether or not it's a majority or more than 50% of the votes are cast, is identified as the winner of that contest. So, if approved by the voters, this ballot measure would return on the ballot the general election in 2024. If passed, as well, it would amend the Nevada Constitution to change the primary election so that all voters, regardless of their party affiliation, would be able to cast votes for all candidates. That's major and minor. So, when we look at this, this is Secretary of State, State Treasurer, the Controller, the Attorney General, the legislators, like that snips all of that out. So the way that it's stacked for us, at least, is you can't have one foot in and one or the other. You either buy into the political party majority and sign the death warrant to the independent party, or you, as you basically put it, swing the doors wide open for a rather complex system to discast votes that you didn't fill out all 5 of the stars.
And
then
that's
they throw
just
it
one
out.
thing. Like, essentially, if you broke it down to the basic, it's what it does is it votes by algorithm until the loser wins. And that's essentially how ranked choice voting historically every single time has worked. And so you can get somebody who's very unpopular, who has a 8% margin, and somehow, because of the algorithms, because these people were eliminated and these people were eliminated, that person gets elected. So it's not by the will of the people. It is literally by the will of controlled algorithm. And it becomes a problem for everywhere it's implemented, but it is extremely lauded by the progressive kind of socialist left because it seems to work in their favor.
So does the state of Idaho contain this as well? Ballots for statewide office must now include an option for voters to select none of these candidates, end quote. Under the proposed changes, any votes for, quote, none of these candidates shall be tabulated, recorded, and made public and would not be counted for the purpose of electing or ranking any candidates of the partisan offices.
I don't know.
That's the keystone. Yeah, that's the keystone that really gives me pause to that, because it's like, on the one hand, ethically, I would prefer the majority voices of those that are intending to vote weed out the fact that we have a rhino monopoly, save for Alaska, other states where it's red all the way down the line until this measure hits the ballot and suddenly it flips blue kind of stuff for the purposes that you outlined. So I do think, and I think that's something that the governor should probably have an open conversation about and like lay out to the people, hey, are you interested in voting in our state this year? This is what this means. Because we have a arguments for passage, arguments against, and it's cited 6, 7, 6, 12, 24, 5 dozen times in all the state laws. So like they're backing up all of this stuff from the state with here's the rebuttal to the arguments against passage with equal number of citations as well. The rest of it is like Better Nevada voting initiative, let's amend the Constitution to return election transmittals to the Secretary of State canvass by Supreme Court in declaration of the election. Let's do stuff over the internet. There's a lot of stuff that I'm like pen whipping no on for the condensing of the active voting, so to speak. Agnostic of the explanation and digest. Like, look, if you want to count as an absentee, go ahead and vote online. I don't care. Because if you're a service member or you can't or you're physically disabled, you should have the right to vote. That's fine. But doing away with our ability to track the votes, because we can currently track where our vote is now, by the way, which I didn't realize. I'm a big fan of keeping all those and then the rest is allocation of revenue to state education boards and sales tax and county relief stuff. And there's a whole bunch of things that I actually had to research for almost a week before voting, but it was a big day, dude. And a lot of people turned out for day one, you know?
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I hope it's
Hello, Cynthia.
record.
Welcome.
I hope it's a record turnout. I hope that we see more people at the polls than we ever have before.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the case. I mean, the engagement with young people is the key. Young people don't get out to vote, and I think that this time, even with the MTV Rock the Vote initiatives that they put out, it still didn't get them out in the numbers that they were hoping. But I can't even, you can't cross a street without talking politics this day in this day and age, and I think every kid is far more engaged now, strictly because they have to be. Like it's so pervasive in just, and has saturated every part of culture now that there's no way to get around it. And if you're at a voting age, it's just going to happen. Like my daughter's voting for the first time, and she's excited to do it. Like, and that's not, all the peers of hers that I see are all in the same boat. They're really excited.
That's good. Because, there's an outpouring of people that are willing to talk about it that are younger and younger down here that seem highly motivated to pay attention to how shitty the last 4 years have been and apply that logic to the way they vote. But there's a lot of people I talk to my age range and down and much younger than me that are very ambivalent about it still and don't really care. And then I remind them about the Obama 1 race, the first electoral term for President Obama, and how P. Diddy went out and did the vote or die initiative. Do you remember that? I was like, maybe let's not follow Diddy's footsteps. Like, you can still live, but you should vote. You know what I mean? Like, don't be so ambivalent about it. A lot of people seem to not care as much. I'm glad your kids are excited and they're excited with their friends. That seems
absolutely
surprising to me, but also awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, it's something that the engagement with younger people is something we've been asking for, but now I think that their hand has just been forced due to the economy. I think that they recognize they'll never get an apartment on their own. They're never going to, they're in their early 20s and life isn't possible for them in their early 20s. And even, when I was young in the 90s, in my 20s, it wasn't impossible. I mean, you lived with me in a couple of places, like we got a giant 4-bedroom house on 9th Street, or 5-bedroom house. I don't even remember. It was a giant house. with a bunch of kids. You
Yeah.
know, like yeah, we all
I
had
had a
roommates,
sick bomb shelter in the basement too, underneath it.
but yeah,
It was awesome.
yeah, it did. And you know, even before then, you know, the apartment off of whatever, and
Like,
all of
that's a good
it wasn't
point, dude.
hard.
That's a good point. Like, I remember those times, like, pretty distinctly with, like, imagine the scenario that we were in where it was like, okay, circumstances are dealing a pretty shit hand here, but it didn't seem like growing old one day, getting a house, finding a good job was untenable.
Right.
It was like, look, I'm doing what I have to do because I got to keep the lights on and eat, and it sucks. And emotionally, it feels like the world's tearing you apart, right? Because there's a lot going on, and you're just not equipped with the skills to deal with those things. You're too young to deal with those things. But it didn't feel like the world was not over, like it was over. You know what I mean?
Right.
It didn't feel
Yeah,
like, oh, I can never
was-
afford a house, an apartment, like, because I didn't think I could ever buy a house going into this one. You know what I mean? That was
Yeah.
serendipity in a lot of ways, but that was much later. Like, I can't imagine the kids your daughter's age, like,
Yeah.
coming to grips with it's not achievable. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
It's not even in the realm of possibility. So I'm not even going to bother with
Yeah.
the energy for it.
That's a level
You know-
of existential threat I'd never considered before you brought it up.
Yeah, and that's I mean when we like you're saying like when we were younger, we at least had the distant hope that it was at least possible.
Right.
You know, and they don't have that. And they've recognized that. And they're developing within that sphere rather than it being an existential threat. It is literally the world that all they know.
Yeah.
So they're like, what do you mean? I'll never buy a house. I
Mhm.
don't even want to. I'm going to buy a van. That's what everyone does
Right.
because, you know, van life or, you know, they just don't have the concept of that because it's not even on the table for them and they know it.
Mhm.
And so, but they also recognize that they should want it, that there is that should be available to them, and it's not. Because they've heard, you know, they see their parents and they've heard all the stories of everybody else being, you know, previous generations being able to do these things that they can't do, and they're pissed. They're real pissed about it. There's a deep anger there that they are unable to actually achieve the things that the previous generations have achieved, and they go looking for someone to blame, and they start pointing fingers, and they start going, well, let's look at how the government's being run because that's
Right.
literally all anybody's talking about. I don't like, obviously something's got to change. Let's vote. Let's all get involved. Let's vote. There's been way more engagement on a political level of people under 25 than I've ever seen. Like, I don't remember giving a crap before I was 25. I know I didn't. I know I didn't know anybody who did. I didn't know anybody. Like, if you knew somebody who voted, you didn't know that they voted because they didn't talk about it.
That's another thing.
know-
Like, we went from it almost damn near being a taboo topic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, things we don't talk about, even among our closest friends, how we vote, you know, falls into that category of other things. And now it's like, I can't have a conversation with somebody unless I know how they vote. You know what I mean? It's funny how
Right.
that's changed recently.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Like there's been a couple of people that have asked me for jobs, you know, artists at the shop. And I was like, they're great artists, but I know how they vote.
Right.
And I know I'm not going to be able to have them around in the shop with my other guys who are all kind of on the same
It's
page.
a poison pill
ideologically.
dynamic where it's just going to be infighting all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I can't just hire anybody anymore. It literally has to be based off of whether or not how they vote. And it never used to be that way. Never
Mhm.
mattered. And now that's all that matters. And I think that is the same with the young voting base too. I think that now that's all that matters.
Yeah.
They realize it, and it's dire, and it's come to that point where they are like, if I don't get involved, like I'm not going to be able to ever do anything. What is the point, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think that more so than any time in history, including even the Vietnam era, I think we are at a point where the kids are far more um, engaged out of crisis than
Yeah.
anything else, and they recognize it. I'll be interested to see how it reflects in the polls after the 5th
Yeah.
and see like what that actually looks like. But I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's interesting.
I also wonder if they're going to feel some semblance of a fractal burden of responsibility with the turnout because they participated in the process. Because you're going to have the trolls, right? Like
Yeah.
if and probably at a much younger age than I should have been. But if I had enough beers in my hands and a microphone or at a party or on stage or whatever, like I would troll out. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to do this because, you know, I would have haphazardly voted just to be like, at least my vote makes it so that somebody else's doesn't count. Ha 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 ha. And wouldn't have given it a second thought. But I do wonder if it's out of the necessity that you're talking about, which seems logical to me, if they're going to feel some sort of vested interest in how it turns out and continue to vote. That to me feels like the best possible outcome is an awakening of people that says, hey, through the active participation in your civic duty, you know, a lot of people, and myself included, bemoan the jury duty thing, but that's the price you pay, buddy. That's you are a jury of someone else's peers, right? I wonder if they're actually going to be a little more concerned and if that's going to spin things positively on wake up, look around, feel the affect, take responsibility in your decision a little bit, try to sift the wheat from the chaff with modern media. You know, it's, I hope, to me, that's encouraging, even if it's coming from a place of desperation in the youth today. I think there's a silver lining to that. It just depends on how you want to look at it. Like, maybe it will.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
I hope so. Speaking of
getting a job,
the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
In modern media.
Right. Oh, geez.
That's getting more difficult to come by these days.
Yeah, it's heating up in the independent space, isn't it?
It really is. And I'm kind of curious if this is going to be a tidal wave situation where, or a domino effect situation where we end up losing a lot of the content creators like we did in 2020, but by way of different means in this particular situation. So this week, a show that I very much was a avid follower of, and one of my favorite shows. I even have I have a shirt. I've got stickers and all sorts of stuff of this show. And I came to it through a guy named Matt Christensen, who's a big online guy.
Oh, so not The View?
No, not The View.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I avoid The View for obvious reasons. Not enough cooking tips.
My computer almost just was wearing my drink there. Go ahead. Sorry.
But it was Matt Christensen was somebody who makes like very poignant, very logical, very salient observational videos of current politics. And I've always found his cadence really nice. I've always found his logical mind really, he's able to dissect anything from gun control issues to abortion issues and everything in between in such a logical form, in a clear and concise way. And I've always found him very entertaining. And I've been listening to him for years. And then a couple of years ago, probably, I don't know, 2020, 2021, somewhere around there, I
Thank you, Aaron B. Spectator. I love you too.
What did she say?
Oh, just commenting on the comments.
Oh, okay.
Being encouraging.
I had been watching him, but I hate live shows, live call-in shows or whatever. I never really used to like them.
Right.
And I was tattooing one day, and I knew he had this other kind of live show that he did, but I never watched it because it was like long form, like 3 hour kind of situation, and I just never really was drawn to that particular brand of YouTube. But I was tattooing, and I really didn't want to pay attention to my client, and so I wanted a real annoying client. So
Sure.
I was desperately looking for something to put on my headphones
Sure.
that I could, and I was like, oh, this matte and blonde thing is on. So I just put it on and ended up really enjoying it. I liked their banter and their back and forth, and then watched it a couple of times, watched it at home, turned my mom onto it, we ended up watching it as a family. About the third or fourth time we got into it, we found out that the co-host Blonde, who I was not aware of prior to this, but she had a whole channel called Blonde in the Belly of the Beast when she lived in Seattle, but she had moved to Coeur d'Alene. And so we're like, oh, she lives here with us. So we had contacted her and said, hey, we're fans and we live locally. If you guys need any help with anything as far as like getting connected to like survival groups or people who know how to can or do any of those type of things, right? Or if you want to go learn how to, shoot guns or whatever,
Sure.
we can help you out with that. We ended up meeting up for coffee, ended up becoming kind of loose friends. Her and I actually ended up going out to see Steven Crowder with my tattoo crew. Couple of, we'll text every once in a while. Her and I very recently kind of got into it, and I think we explained this last week, where she was being told that
Hashtag not a fed.
Not a fed.
Yeah, just
but she was concerned that I had engaged with her for fed purposes, and I was like, dude, that's nowhere near the case. However, she seemed bothered, and we haven't spoke since. I don't think that had anything to do with what happened, but I do know that she is much more to the anti-Israel, anti-Zionist kind of leanings, heavily into the Groyper kind of realm, and is friends with a lot of those guys. I am not, and she knows that, but I enjoyed Matt's content. I enjoyed her with that content. I didn't agree with her on all that stuff.
Sure.
Didn't make any difference. I still liked her as a person. And she admitted that she never votes, and she never was going to run for office for anything. So her beliefs were her beliefs, and I didn't care. It didn't matter. It wasn't going to affect local policy of any kind, and it just didn't matter to me.
well, obviously, if you don't vote, I mean,
yeah.
Right.
So it was one of those things that like I just didn't agree with her on those things. However, she made the announcement, her and Matt, after 8.5 years of doing that show together, she quit.
Yep.
And Matt is devastated. Matt doesn't know what to like. He's trying to regroup and figure out what to do, but it was not on good terms. She had made a very steady decline in her participation in the show over the course of last year, which was noticeable to anybody watching the show. She was putting in very low effort, and then would leave the show early to go take care of her baby, which you can't really complain about. But at the same time, I think it became a crutch and an excuse not to deal with like the super chat stuff. And it was just kind of annoying. Like she just kind of dipped out whenever, 30 minutes early and left him holding all the work, which, by watching the show for years, you're very aware that Matt handles everything.
Right.
Like he does all the production work. He does all the sound work. He does all of the topics. He runs the show. He does 90+% of the work. She shows up and makes
I
quips.
do know a thing or two about production on a podcast. That's great.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. And then, it makes me feel bad because I was like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff.
Dude,
I tried to
if you didn't come up with the topics, I would literally drag my ass out of work and be like, oh, I'm here. Switch to another computer and be like, what are we talking about? So not the same with us. Yeah.
So, and I try to bring up, topics and engagements and stuff like that.
Sure.
So, but on the technical aspect, you're very much in control of everything that happens here. So, but that being said, it was very apparent that she was doing 10% and just showing up and doing her part. But then when she started not doing her part, and then apparently she hurt her foot and was like going to not do the Wednesday live stream and just told him last minute. And he had already been to a boiling point. And he admits that he should have called her out and controlled it a little bit early.
Sure.
In the back channels and said, hey, I really need you to, like, we split this 50-50 and I'm doing 90% of the work.
Right.
I need you to at least come to the table.
Right.
And
be enthusiastic. Right. Try.
And then also like, don't dip out every Sunday night, like to, go. It just happened to be very funny that there was a 30 minutes just right before the end of the show. She go, oh, I hear my baby. I gotta go. Bye. Click. And then was gone. And it happened literally every Sunday night. And, and he let that go because he didn't want to be the jerk to go, well, I don't think you should go take care of your baby. I think you made a commitment here.
Right.
And come off looking like a jackass. But that's really the reality of he knows. He goes, I should have put my foot down, but I didn't because I'm a nice guy. And this is what ended up happening. I didn't communicate enough. But I'm mad. You can tell he's upset. He says that the way that she handled it, because he goes, don't quit. Let's talk about it come on the show tomorrow night on Sunday and let's discuss it. And you can still quit, but at least let's give our audience an explanation.
Right.
And she said, okay. And then 20 minutes later, without talking to him, blasted it all over Twitter.
Right.
And he had to rebut it a whole bunch and go, none of this is true. And then she decided not to do the show and backed out. But her excuses is that she felt constrained, that he wasn't allowing her to be more free with the topics she wanted to talk about, which isn't true.
She has her own show.
She has her own show,
like,
right? Which
you
she does
kind of develop those ideas there, can you not? I mean,
yeah, and she did. All she interviewed was J question people.
Sure.
That's all that was where she got to
now
have that outlet.
Admittedly, like I watch them quite a bit after the fact. I don't tune in weekly. I tune in sub. As we discussed pre-show, principally because I don't want to end up regurgitating their ideas because I enjoy their content a lot. But I've never, in defense of this conversation, I've never watched her standalone stuff. Yeah. I didn't know her before Matt and Blonde. I didn't know that she had all this stuff. I knew she had other stuff. I just didn't go check it out. So
I watch them until I can't really stomach it anymore because it's basically the same topic over and over again. It is, why do the Jews suck? And I'm like, well, I get it. You don't like them. Neither does the guy you're interviewing. So you guys laugh about it, make some jokes, and then it's just kind of a repeat cycle of that same topic. So it's not very interesting to me. And also I just can't stomach hearing that kind of rhetoric over and over again when I know most of it is cherry picked nonsense. It becomes to the back to the regular thing. He basically was like, I've never been more betrayed. The way that she handled it was one of the biggest betrayals of my life. And so he's furious. He's not, he's trying to figure out what to do. He's not really throwing her under the bus. He's very careful and methodical about how he's relaying the information of how it went down, but he's not pulling any punches either. He's just saying, this is the facts. This is what happened. And it's been very interesting to watch. And that all blew up, and we were all as a family watching the last, Sunday stream without her. And he did a call-in show, and we're all just kind of, because we've been watching it as a family for years. Yeah. They helped us when we had a house fire. They put a GoFundMe together for us and actually got a bunch of the subscribers to
Mhm.
actually pitch into that. So there's a huge family connection there for us. It felt like a loss. And so that was kind of a gut punch for us as, people who, that was our Sunday ritual. We'd put that on, we'd watch the show. It was great.
And Matt is in Montana.
Montana. Yeah,
Okay,
he's in
yeah.
Bozeman. So, and then the very next day, the other content that I watch on nearly a daily basis, Tim Pool.
Yeah, Tim.
And Tim is somebody I watch because he's even. And I don't,
Right.
he's always got great guests on. He's an even-handed dude. Like, whether I agree with him or not, at least I can guarantee that he's going to have good guests, good conversation, and it's going to be it's a good source for like true news. And I can
Yeah,
actually
even if
get
it's
good news.
slanted episode to episode here and there, he tries to get to the center of what the truth is, agnostic
Yeah.
of like who he's surrounded by, which I've always respected.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and but his was in a totally different kind of vein of he announced that he's stopping his nightly IRL show, which has been
Mhm.
going for nearly 1,100 episodes,
Yeah.
and was a daily thing Monday through Friday, and but when he
Yeah.
started the show last night, it was all right. So why is this happening? Because I heard catastrophic failure at the studio. All of these different things were
Yeah.
going on, and I think even like the Quartering did it. I haven't watched it yet, but the Quartering did a video basically saying Tim Pool's quitting before Tim Pool announced that he was quitting.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I got it on Reddit and I watched like the 3-minute breakdown of him talking about it, and I got some feels on that one. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm catching feelings here. His felt to me like he was just complaining that a lot of people just weren't doing their jobs, and he just was too apathetic to do anything about it because deep down he knows he can't run a business. I've been trying to get a coffee shop off the ground for 2 years. I can't do this. I skateboard every day. And it was like all the excuses you could possibly muster on why he won't actively try to fix a problem and instead just be like, we make plenty of money. We're out.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to pay these people to lean on shovels. And I was just, it left a taste. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where it's just like,
for sure.
Damn, dude, that
I
didn't
think
come off.
He's throwing a temper tantrum, and he
Yeah.
did it in the biggest, most public way that he possibly could, and it was kind of distasteful.
It was
And
gross. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was not happy with.
But you were saying he went live today, though, right?
He went, like, I checked right before we came on. He's live. He's got a guest. He's already, and he may finish out the week. I don't know. I'll have to go and watch later.
Yeah.
But like, he's currently live right now. So like, it's one of those things like, I don't know. Was he just being a big baby for a day? Or because he had Dave Landau, who's a great comedian. He used to be with Steven Crowder,
Mhm.
but he's a stand-up comedian that's absolutely hilarious. Dave Landau got into it with Steven and left the show, and then now has kind of been doing other like
Just
stuff
on the
with
circuit. Yeah.
yeah. And so he was on Tim, and he's been on there multiple times before. But Dave Landau is hilarious, and Dave Landau was like kind of questioning him the whole time, kind of going like, don't you just want to fix it rather than just throw in the towel?
Kind of what I was
And he's
thinking
like-
while he was saying that. It was just like,
Yeah,
then hire someone to fix it.
yeah. And that was, and that's what he's saying is that I need to hire a CEO to do these things so
Right.
I don't have to. He goes, however, and I think basically his excuse was that it was going to cost too much out of his revenue stream to hire a CEO. And I was
Which-
like, okay,
Whatever, man.
yeah,
Take less money or stop bitching. If
yeah,
you know you're not the solution to the problem, like I don't think we've publicly said this, but I don't mind being transparent about it. When we finally got around to making this a thing,
yeah,
I was pretty headstrong on cool, but if something happens, if family stuff comes up, if shit's going on, if schedules conflict, it's a show. and we can make it come back. Like, we love you guys. We appreciate the support, and our subscriber count is growing, which is awesome. And our downloads are growing. We seem to be listened to rather, a lot more than we're being watched. And I'm cool with that. But
yeah, no one needs to look at this.
Your life has to come first too. Like, we're not doing this nightly. So totally different stress level. There's not a big production around it, but like, I get it.
Even then it's kind of sometimes hard to get in on one night on a Tuesday.
It really, especially with your schedule, right? Like, you totally get it. So for me, it's like, hey, stuff happened. Take care of the family. We'll either go later in the week or we'll do it next week. Now, this is not our mainstay job, and this is not, we're not tuning into millions of people every night. But it's growing, and I enjoy that, and I don't want to jeopardize that by being lackadaisical, but I will not put the podcast in front of my life. Like, and you shouldn't either. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah,
that is one of the perspectives that he came from. He goes, this is getting in the way of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's a better argument.
Right. That's a burnout argument that's understandable. Like,
but it's also your mainstay.
And it is also a monster you created.
Yeah. So catch 22 there. Like, you created a monster that became your main revenue stream for your life.
Right.
And it's getting in the way of your life, so like, what do you do? I guess I can understand the frustration to a degree. It just came off really sour.
Yeah. It was salty
and pouty. He just seemed pouty about it. And I was like, gross.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it, 'cause I love Tim. For all the reasons you outlined, I really enjoy the work that he puts out. And there's quite a body of
different content too. Yeah. Like, he puts out like, Culture Wars is actually a really great show where he brings on like one guest and does long form content about one topic.
He's been on Rogan, I think. He's been
a lot. He's the one who actually pushed back on Vijaya and Jack from Twitter. And like, really, and that's kind of what put him on the map. But he's an incredible skateboarder. He's got a whole skateboarding channel. He's got, I don't know if Chicken City's still up. He did Chicken City for a while, but he's got a couple of different spooky show that he does, and like, there's a bunch of different elements to what he does. And he's really trying to diversify, but he's also trying to put it into the public sphere, where he's buying buildings and wants to put like kind of like coffee shops that aren't woke and that have like venues and skate parks, and like, he wants to really tackle culture, and that's something I've really appreciated about him. So I don't want him to go away. I want him to continue that venture. I just want him to push through the hard parts. And I know he's up against a lot of brick walls, but like, come on, man. Like,
I've seen this a couple of times be incredibly successful if you get the right team of people behind you to handle the stuff he seems to be struggling with. And not for nothing, but creative people are often, not always, but often not the best at being operationally focused. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the inventor creator people are not super awesome operational CEOs, but you look at a guy like Rob, was it Diedrich or Deirdrick or whatever, that the Nitro Circus guy owned all these skateboard brands and continues to just kill it because he has the right team of people behind him. Bill Simmons is a great example of that. Worked at ESPN, came up from being the Boston sports guy, invented 30 for 30, started gaining popularity at ESPN, eventually took to Grantland, which became a big thing, was always a big believer in long form podcasts, eventually creates Ringer Media and then sells it to Spotify. But he's got a team of people that he's taken with him from the ESPN days to Grantland to the Ringer Media stuff, where they're constantly pushing forward, but they have all of the X's and O's kind of being handled downstream. And that's how you be successful at that. If it's stuff that works. So hopefully he gets through it, maybe he'll find those people.
I think the problem is that once you have someone who's a visionary, somebody who is and has built something from the ground up and has control over it, it's really hard to hand that over to other people who might want to change your vision. And I think that's where his concern is that he's like, no, I don't want to have anybody else to have control over this. I don't want anybody else to, like, what's his name from Veritas, James O'Keefe, who ended up getting booted out of his own organization. He put people in charge and put a CEO and put a board together, so he didn't have to do any of that stuff. And
their first act was to remove him.
Yeah, and they got rid of the guy. The guy that the whole thing was built on was him. And so I think him, Tim, seeing all of this stuff going on around him at like Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro,
Daily Wire and all that.
All the Daily Wire dramas and all of that kind of stuff that was all going down. I think, and then stuff with Steven Crowder. I think he's terrified to not have full control over the thing he created and built from the ground up. And so, and he has, that type personality where he's like, no, nobody's gonna, take it over and then strip it down and turn it into something that I didn't want it to be. But at the same time, it's like, well, now you're in a catch-22, buddy. You can't, either use discernment and find people that you can actually trust with this, right, who have the capability of doing it, which is going to be a hard find. That's something that any business owner knows that is one of the hardest things to do, is find people that you can trust and are also capable, because they're not often the same people.
Right.
So, and that takes discernment, that takes wisdom, and it takes somebody, who's open enough to look outside of certain spaces to bring other people in.
It's harder than I think people would realize. I have had business partners. You have had business partners. Like, yep. It's very, very difficult to keep that perfect dynamic where things are in a positive momentum when you have two conflicting viewpoints at some point that just don't get addressed or things fall apart. So on the one hand, I agree with it, but his messaging just came off a little petulant. Like,
yeah, no, you're fully 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like,
he basically was like,
maybe prepare a statement, Timbo. That was, that was not a good look, bro.
No, it was not.
You know what was an interesting look, though, this week? Speaking of salt.
Yeah.
Donald Trump worked a shift at McDonald's, it looked like.
Yes, he did.
What happened? He's out. This is old school politicking. We're going back in time now. He went to America's Hamburger and dropped some fries. He was handing out food through the window.
Yeah.
He was
talking about salting the fries more because that's how he likes it.
Yeah. Apparently he was loving life. That was kind of fun. Yeah. What would you do if you decided to hit the Golden Arches and you swing through that drive-through and Donald J. Trump hands you your meal? Like, what is the first thing that's going through your head at this point?
First thing that's going through my head is, this man is, if he cannot actually connect with average folk, at least he's attempting. At least he's trying. Whereas it wouldn't even be considered, like, they'll make platitudes and they'll say catchphrases that they're one of you, and the Kamala Harris campaign would never even think about doing something like this. So
I don't know about that, bro. I mean, she was raised in a middle class family, I'm told.
That's true. But that's the thing, is that I think, honestly, it was genius by the Trump team. Whoever is his marketing team went, no, get in there. It'll be funny. Just be you. It'll be endearing. It'll touch people.
When he was in the White House, I want to say it was like, when the national champion football team wins the big game at the end of the year and then they all have a chance to meet the president. It was one of those types of events. I don't know if it was that one where he brought like a ton of McDonald's in and stuff. So like, he's got some history with the Golden Arches. Our boy likes him some Big Macs, dude. And I think my first thought would have been, did you steal any of my fries? Did you steal some?
Yeah.
I'll share some fries with you, man. This is weird, but I love it.
Yeah. That would be okay with me if he stole some fries. I wouldn't mind.
But, the Bagler fry. It's just Donald Trump eating them. He's just in the corner eating them, like, whoa, what is this? Why is this happening?
No, and I think it was it was hilarious. I think that it was to make a point. I think that he did a really good job with it. I think it came off really good. They're trying to, spin it into something, that
Of course.
is negative, but I think the average person who saw that went, "Whoa, that's cool."
Yeah, I didn't even want to look because I assumed I would get some hot take headline from CNN or something that's like, Donald J. Trump likely did not have a food handler's card while passing out food to.
That's exactly what it was.
I assume it would be.
And also,
yeah,
he wasn't wearing food service gloves while he was scooping those fries.
Of course,
all of those things came out, and it was preposterous. But
that's why I didn't even investigate. I was just like, I kind of know what they're gonna say. Like,
yeah.
And
but you were right.
That was fun though. What do you think? What should Kamala Harris do to combat the McDonald's shift? Where should she go? Denny's?
Oh man, I'd love to see her at a Denny's running a night shift after the bars get out.
Graveyard like, post bar close. Just haggard. Yeah. People just
if she wants to one up Trump, that's what she's gonna have to do.
Yeah.
She's gonna have to go put on an apron.
Taking orders, moons over my hammy. Let's go. Can we get a grand slam from Miss Harris?
I would love it.
I
would actually sit in her section.
Dude, I would too. I'd be like, I'm not missing this at all. I've had nothing to drink and I'm still going.
Yeah.
Seriously though, I don't know what not that she would, but I don't know what she could do to try and sweep the hands-on public opinion with some old school politicking.
2 weeks. She's got 2 weeks. His timing couldn't have been better on this.
Yeah.
And like it basically left her like scrambling to connect to regular folk by going and scooping fries at a McDonald's the way that he just did masterfully. It was a masterclass move. And his team has been doing that step by step, every step of the way, making exactly the right move to make that guy, even if you don't like him, likable. Right. And they did a really good job this election season. We got 2 weeks to go, and that guy won't sit on his hands, but he'll keep going. You must have seen something in the chat.
Chat says, what's Harris's Yelp review after that night shift post bar rush visit?
Yeah, well.
Cynthia and Faster says, Tim Pool is keeping IRL. His girlfriend is pregnant and they're getting married.
What?
Okay. This must be coming in live from the other feed, so.
That's wild.
That's insane.
That's cool to hear.
Well,
and that might have been part of his stressors, is that he's like got family coming in.
It's like that adds a bit of a stress ingredient, does it not?
And you know what? God bless him. I'm so happy that like Matt Christensen came to Jesus like 4 months ago and converted and actually became a Christian and is now that's his track. And we were all like cheering. And this is something that Tim Pool has always needed for world perspective, for his perspective around everything that governs his life. Having a kid is going to change him.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that like that guy needs to get married and have kids. And he's preached that. He's always said he was open to it. And
galvanize that perspective a little bit.
Yeah. And that's fantastic. Wow. And so I'm really happy for him.
That is exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was one of those interesting points. Like I told you, whatever it was, this spring I went to Las Vegas and I saw a lecture from Dr. Jordan Peterson about a book that
he's going to be in Spokane in January.
Go see him. He's probably still on the We Who Wrestle with God tour, which is the book.
Yes.
The book hasn't dropped and won't come out, I think, until November. So it's like, well, this is interesting. I'm going to get lectured on a book I haven't read because it's not out yet. But he had a cool opener that played like some classical guitar music, and then his daughter came out and said a few words, and she announced that like only weeks prior that she had found salvation as well, and that there was a lot of differences and eye-opening things for her too, which I thought was really cool. And it's like, yep, your world perspective is going to change a lot if you stick with it. So, well, that explains a ton. This is hard-hitting news coming out of live. This is why we do it live. Aaron B. Spectator, not even 4 months ago. It's been like a month during the tenant debacle. True.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
I was being generous with the timeline. Sorry, chat.
That's why we keep
So
her around. She keeps us on the street and narrow.
she
Facts.
she's she's a human computer for sure. I don't need
I-
Alexa because of her.
I don't know how she does what she does, but I really enjoy her explanation of stuff, especially on your ballads this year. On
Yeah.
I consume her content on Instagram. I'm
Yeah.
will not load up TikTok for reasons. But yeah,
Neither
job.
do I. I don't have TikTok. I don't have TikTok for
high five, Aaron.
not only the China aspect of it, but also because I'm a grown man.
You're not going to try to do
heterosexual-
the latest TikTok dance? It's not you?
Yeah, I'm a grown heterosexual male. I don't need TikTok. But yeah.
In other news, Friday, this is going to be a big week, dude. Friday,
Yeah.
Donald Trump hits Joe Rogan. He's going to talk to him. He's going to talk to him for a while. Now, last week, this was mentioned. I pointed out there's a thumbs up and a possible thumbs down. On the one hand, I like Joe Rogan. I like the way he doesn't ask questions a lot. He states things in a curious manner and then lets the other guy or gal cook.
Yeah.
And it's really engaging because he's a master at that. He's very good at it. Things that could be bad is, trying to smoke a blunt with Donald J. Trump on the podcast the way he did with Elon Musk. Probably not a good look after we're riding the highway of serving French fries to the,
I would imagine there's gonna
homeland
be
America.
a set of rules and stipulations before that man walks in.
I would hope so, but it's also Joe Rogan.
Yeah, it's also true. But I don't know. I think Joe
Could
Rogan
be weird. Could be fun. I'm going to watch it, though.
There's a difference between Joe Rogan accepting and bringing in somebody like Elon Musk, who like anybody would think it would be funny to smoke a joint with Elon Musk,
Right.
but I don't think he's going to put himself in a position
He's
to get denied by, like, if Donald Trump goes, no, I would never, because he knows that Donald Trump is a teetotaler. He knows that he's never had a sip of alcohol in his entire life. He knows that he's never done any drugs. He's never smoked a cigarette. And he explained this very thoroughly on Theo Vaughn's podcast, where he went into like Theo's background of abuse, of substance abuse, and then told the story of why he, like, I'd never heard that before. I
didn't
it's
either.
out there somewhere, but hearing it from him about his uncle, and his uncle going, I have all these issues, don't ever do this stuff. And he never did. And so I highly doubt that Joe's going to compromise his show by doing that. But I don't know. There are different traps that can be set that might be not advantageous for.
Right. You want it to go out with a bang,
Trump.
not to be a coffin nail a week before, whenever that airs, 2 weeks before an election. But, he's treated a lot of his political candidates with honesty but respect. Like he's always had very quality conversations with some of my favorite guests of his have been Tulsi Gabbard and Kennedy, and like that. Like he has good conversations there. But I will definitely be tuning in because usually he's got a propensity to go for 2 to 3 hours sometimes with people. So
I would imagine somebody with Trump who's a chatty fella, he's going to be going for the full 3 hours on that one.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's going to be the biggest podcast in human history. So you're going to give it some air to breathe and some room to stretch out. But it is definitely, once again, this campaign, his campaign manager's masterclass of putting him on all of the circuit of the heavy hitter podcasts in the area instead of doing legacy media, which no one would even bother up until this point to even give these guys the time of day. But he's been doing the tour on all of them, and it's been fantastic. And then Kamala tried to jump on board and do a couple, and it did not go well, so she stopped doing them.
She almost didn't survive the Fox interview. That wasn't even a podcast. That was gross, dude.
Yeah, real bad.
Yeah.
Real bad. So are you talking about the Brett Baer one?
Yep.
Yeah, that one was brutal. It was brutal for her. Yeah.
It's like, keep her away bed. But I could see through the fog a little bit. we're going to be doing election night coverage on this very podcast. You guys are welcome to come hang out with us. It's going to be a raucous good time. I'll probably be eating on stream because it's probably going to be a long one. We're probably going to find one or more sources that will cover this, and we'll bring it home until we don't. Because it's work night for me for sure, but I'm here for it, dude. I'm game. 2 weeks from now, right here, you can come back. We're going to be checking it out.
Wait. I cannot wait. Yeah, I'm gonna have this table is gonna be full of different food items, like it's a Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be live streaming. I don't know, like I'd like to get my wife on here with us. However,
I would love that.
She may be obligated to. I just realized she may be obligated to other ventures, such as other watch parties that she helps host. Or she also has been known up until this last election. She didn't do it, but normally she's down at the vote counting place as a watcher. So she's there all night watching them count the votes. And so she's a poll watcher, or not a poll watcher. What is it in the chat, Aaron? But she goes down to the elections office. Yeah. And actually, when they bring the ballots in and they count them there, she sits on the other side of the glass and makes sure she's one of the people that are allowed in there to do that. And she'll sit there all night and watch, make sure everything's copacetic. And then
well, I'll try to have people over. I don't think anyone's leaving their house on election night where I live. I can guarantee you that. But yeah, if you got people, bring them on. The Prunes actually gave me an idea to get some hot wings and to do a bowl of left wing and a bowl of right wing. And I might just do it, depending on how saucy my fingers are to operate the keyboard and such. That's a going theorem on how we might have some fun.
You're gonna have a roll of paper towels and go strictly dry rub on them. You don't have to wet them up.
It's a good idea.
You know,
honestly, dude, I think what I would love to do, because a lot of my connection to my social network is in Washington State still. They will be probably one of the latter of the states to get counted in, being that it's a West Coast time frame and stuff. I would love to be conscious when Hawaii comes in, because I still have my eyes on that, mostly among the Western states. But I would love to call them up or have them come on the show as their state's being called in, if I can do it, or see how things are going. So I'm going to try and arrange some airtime for some friends. Oh, there he is. The Prune says bipartisan wings are a thing here in Canada. I believe they market hot wings as bipartisan wings up there, don't they? You don't eat them with like mayonnaise or anything, do you?
I think he does.
Man. He's like, hell no, we dunk them in maple syrup. Just joking. What else? So we got a couple things we watched this week. We will be gearing up for some vote coverage. I think it'll be fun. We're going to go until we can't. Come on down. I agree. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
I watched a movie called Atlas.
All right.
Yeah, I watched a movie called Atlas.
That's been on my list.
It's a J-Lo movie. It's on Netflix.
I think the J-Lo element is why I haven't watched it.
That's why I was reticent to watch it. Yeah.
The rest of it looked really great, but I've never really, I'll be honest, enjoyed a J-Lo film. So that was the one thing I was like, well, it looks kind of cool, but like, am I going to be that invested in J-Lo? But go ahead, tell me about this movie, because I'm kind of curious.
It's part of that movie I really loved, and I couldn't put my finger on why that was for the whole time. And it was staring me right in the face. My favorite video game ever made is a video game called Titanfall 2. Like, there is a Titan and a pilot right there on that poster that I'm pointing to. And I was like, man, this thing has some crazy parallels to Titanfall. Like, the whole ethos of this sci-fi is almost ripped from the pages. And then there was a bunch of stuff. The story and stuff had nothing to do with the game. Right. It was like its own storyline and stuff, but the elements around this were that video game. And I was right. I did some digging, and the whole production staff was like, yeah, we basically were inspired to write a movie based on that video game, kind of like loosely inspired by that video game. But yeah, that's exactly where we got the idea from. And I was like, holy shit. Like that explains everything because it's really rad. The sci-fi bits are really rad. They have a pretty good cast around the J-Lo part. Like Mark Strong is in it. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
There's some good pieces in there, and then there's some J-Lo pieces in there that were kind of like, I don't know. The story was not my favorite, but the action sequences were really cool. The effects were super rad. Yeah, it was a solid 5 megs, tooth the end, 5.5, tooth the end. It was fun.
Okay.
It was a fun popcorn movie. It is worth burning some time. Do you have to dedicate your whole attention to it? Probably not. Do you expect there to be a prequel or a sequel or anything that moves the story any further than it was moved? I don't think so. I think it's just a good popcorn
One
movie.
and done.
Yeah. It's
One and done popcorn movie.
fun effects, cool stuff, artificial intelligence. The way they did a lot of the bots in that were really rad. It was cool. Chat's heating up. Atlas was pretty good. Don't think J-Lo passes as a 38-year-old, though. That's facts. A Canadian superstar was the villain. That is also factually correct. So the toothy end is a
Celine Dion was in it?
tip of the cap to Canada. No, I think it was Justin Bieber, but we'll move on.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. Right. It really wasn't. It was a completely different guy. I don't remember the actor's name. He's been in. I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue. He's a Korean guy, I think.
All of our big actors actually Canadian? Isn't that how that goes? I mean,
dude, they shoot so much.
All the Ryans, all of them.
That's true. All the good ones.
All the Ryans.
All the prunesies are great. All of them. Honestly, most of the films that like sci-fi and stuff, they shoot them in Vancouver. I'm guessing for budget reasons or maybe tax reasons, but
tax reasons and also.
That was the dude from Shang-Chi. That's the guy. So apologies, he may not be Korean, but I was like, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know this guy. It's a Shang-Chi guy. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'll definitely put that on my list for November.
Yeah.
Because I'm busy in October.
I'm busy scaring the shit out of myself. So what did you here's the Cliff Notes. Let's be honest, little inside baseball. This section is called Lucky Watches Horror. So who knows? Take it away. We know where you're at.
Yeah, like I mean that's what happens in October for me is that I do not skip a night. I watch all of the horror all the entire month. And I try like this month what I've been doing is I haven't really been watching any. If I watch anything that I've already seen or any classics, it's during the day while I'm at the shop. We have it up on the big TV. But I dedicate one new one every night.
Yeah, right before I go to bed. I gotta. Yeah.
And so, I have the constitution for it. It's fine.
I can't.
But
yeah.
So there was 3 of them that out of this week that kind of stood out for me. So I didn't just go on with all 6 or 7 of them. Like the 3 that really jumped out at me that I thought were worth actually reviewing were. There was one called Caddo Lake, and it just came out on Max, and it is not necessarily a horror. It is a mystery thriller, and it's something that actually I think you would actually like. There's 0 gore. There's 0 actual like monsters or ghosts or anything like that. It's actually a time travel mystery.
Okay.
And it was set in the bayous of Texas on the Louisiana border. And after a tragedy, a guy's trying to kind of cope with the loss of his mother. And then it's got a side story with a girl who's growing up in a kind of split household with a mom and a stepdad and adopted siblings or something to that effect, and but she's almost out of high school, hates her life, but loves her little sister, and little sister goes missing. They're trying to figure it out, and there's something going on with the drought. There's a drought that has drained the swamp, and it happens every couple of years, and it affects the area and economically and otherwise because they make most of their money off the water. And they've come to the realization that when the water's low, there is a portion of this swamp in the shape of they can't really define it, but there's a portion of the swamp that has properties that are time shifting. And through it, you start recognizing that there are different timeline or angles going on. Like there's like this part of the story is not happening at the same part of this story.
Oh, okay.
And so there's certain things going on that all end up winding into a really connected storyline.
Sure.
Very interesting, very slow burn. At first it's kind of confusing, and then and it's a very slow, tense burn. Really well acted. No one that I really recognized. I recognized the Dylan O'Brien kid from I don't know, maybe the can't remember,
He's like an American Assassin or something he did, right? Something like that.
I think he did the something Trials that was like a ripoff of the Hunger Games, essentially, when they were doing all those teen dystopian books.
Yeah. Like Divergent stuff, things like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
One of those, yeah. But he's all grown up, and I think this is actually was produced by M. Night Shyamalan too. It did not feel like it had the production value of that. It felt kind of pretty low production value, but it was really well done. And I think probably due to the fact that it was slow, I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea. I think you'll actually really enjoy it, but it is, I would say, probably 7.5 with a toothy end of the Meg.
Okay.
So definitely a solid watch.
It's on the upswing. I like it.
This next one you will never watch in your entire life.
Yeah.
And
go for it.
It was actually pretty, even for me, I was like, wow, that was actually pretty creepy. And it's a movie. It's an A24, and A24 tends to be the ones that pull no punches and have been at the forefront of disturbing horror done in an artsy way. And this one was called Talk to Me, and it came out in 2022. And it is about a group of teenagers in Australia. It's all set in Australia, and it's a group of teenagers, and one of them comes from a background where her mother has passed away. She took it really hard. Her best friend's family, even though her dad's still in the picture, she's kind of attached herself to this other family, stays with them a lot, and it's her best friend and her little brother and her best friend's parents. And so, but they go to a party, like a house party, and they hear something's going to happen there that's pretty cool. And so they have this game, and apparently it's this game that this guy got and was given this item that they all can participate in, kind of a Ouija board kind of way, right? But it's this white hand.
It's dark Jumanji.
Right. So basically from cut, not quite at the elbow, but like right above the elbow. And it's in a position that is like kind of a handshake position.
Uh-huh.
And they set it on a table, and the game is they tie you to a chair, and you have to reach out and hold the hand and say, talk to me. And when you do that, the possessed hand, whatever it is, opens you up to being able to see, and it brings a dead person in, and you see a dead person and you're holding their hand. And then from that point, you can say something to the effect of I can't remember what the line is, but it's like, I let you in, or something like that. And they possess you, and everyone gets to watch, and there's candles lit, and everyone gets to watch where you're possessed by that dead person, and they're all laughing and everything. And then you can only do it for 90 seconds. And then they blow out the candle and pull the hand away, and it removes the spirit from you, and you're done. Well, the little brother really wants to try, and the older sister says no, but the friend that's staying with him goes, we'll do it for 60 seconds. He does it, and things go really bad, and really sideways, and really dark, and really gory. And then it snowballs from there, and they're seeing them not when they're not handling the hand, and an obsession because family members who are passed on get involved in the ghosting and all of this stuff. And so it becomes a real, but it was really, really well done and paced and terrifying, and kind of struggled, with not only afterlife stuff, but
Yeah.
there's scenes of hell that are really, really disturbing, and it really leaves a lot of questions open, but in the right way. And it was really well done. So
I was out at Severed Arm, but yeah, probably not gonna.
So,
yeah, it's okay.
but I would give it probably, because it actually was one of the few movies that kind of gave me a spook. I was like, "Ooh, that was actually pretty strong." Probably 8 megs.
8 megs.
Solid 8 megs. Yeah. It's not in my top 10 horror movies of all time, but it was a strong horror film that I actually will probably watch again.
Yeah.
And recommend. So 8 megs.
Before you get to your last one, there was one more I wanted to throw out there.
Okay.
Footnote to the footnote. You should watch Reptile if you haven't already. Put it on your watch list for whodunits. It's a Benicio del Toro, Justin Timberlake movie. Really good. I watched a Mark Wahlberg movie called Infinite that came out a couple of years ago.
I just saw an ad for that
like
2 nights ago, and I was like, when did this come out? And it looked really good.
Pandemic movie. He's really good in it. You could tell that it's an A-list actor kind of waiting for the B-list actors to hit their lines and cues a little bit here and there, where it kind of pulls you out of the story almost for a second. Ejiofor, that actor, you know what I'm talking? Ejiofor, he's great. He's the antagonist in this film. Awesome concept, excellent visuals. Couple things are kind of like, man, you could have delivered a little harder. The movie would have been way better if it had an extra 30 minutes. Like, I feel like they just cut this movie before they put it out. But watch it. It's fun.
Okay.
It's fun.
Cool.
We'll wait on the Meg rating, but yeah, it's good. I didn't know it existed either. I was like, Mark Wahlberg did a movie a couple years ago, and I didn't know about it. Clutches pearls and clicks play. It was fun, though. Yeah. Anyway, your third horror movie, we have Caddo Lake, Catto.
Caddo.
Caddo Lake, and then Talk to Me. Okay.
Yep. And then 2023, Cobweb.
Okay.
And this was remarkably artsy.
Remarkably.
It felt like it came out of a kid's spooky novel, like that the Tales from the Dark.
Yeah, like Goosebumps and shit.
Yeah. But brutal.
Okay.
And but the atmosphere felt like that. So it just automatically starts off with a little like 8-year-old boy, and he is lives in this creepy, like, dilapidated house, essentially. And the house is not he's in bed, and he hears knocking on the inside of the wall of his bedroom.
Sure.
And it was he's spooked out by it, tells his parents tell him that it's not real, that he's always that he's got too big of a imagination, and he's bullied at school, so he's not getting any love there.
Sprinkling in all the ingredients of each of the horror movie tropes
And so as time goes on, the noise keeps happening. His parents are getting more and more mad at him. They don't let him celebrate Halloween. You can tell something's very off about the parents. They're exchanging glances. And the parents are played by Liz Kaplan and Anthony Starr. And Anthony Starr is
The Boys, right?
In the Boys, yeah. So, and he is menacing in whatever he plays. He's just great at this role. I thought it was atmospherically awesome. So anyway, the kid ends up finding like the knocking on the wall starts talking to him and says that it's his sister
Mm,
and that there's something off with his parents.
sure.
And so he's
Now, is this
gotta
a
figure out what
spirit
to do.
or is there a human body in this wall talking to him?
That's something you end up finding out.
Okay.
And it is not
You're
what
like,
it is
it's
expected
both.
at all.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah, but it is definitely not what you expect, and it has a very twist ending, and it was fun. The bullies show up to the house to beat him up, and they get handled.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and there's a whole bunch of like interplay into this house, and you know his substitute teacher who's been worried about him comes to help too, and so there it is a fun ride. I had a great time with this movie. Also, I would say eight megs, but definitely
Nice.
not one you're going to want to watch.
Probably not. That was,
right.
dude, one of the most chilling scenes, and I kind of forgot about it. It got me again when I rewatched it when you were here. That opening drug bust scene in Sicario, when they like reveal they're stacking bodies in the drywall, like behind the.
Oh yeah.
You're just like, oh shit! It just got
Yeah.
real. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
we've
So
got Caddo
that's it for
Lake,
me.
Talk to Me, and Cobweb on the Scary Watch. How much time you got left? You got 1 week left of the scary stuff, don't you? And then you're into November.
Until the 31st. But
Yeah.
the 30th, on the 30th, I watch The Crow every year.
Okay.
And then
You gonna
on
watch
the
a new one?
30 No.
You refuse to
No.
watch it?
Well, it's just tradition because it happens.
No, not in
on-
place of, but I mean, one day, are you going to watch the new one?
I might.
You
I
should.
don't know.
It's fun.
Okay.
It's fun.
Okay.
It's got
So
our
I'll
boy
check
in
that
it
out.
from Boy Kills World, the same actor.
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
And then on Halloween, we typically put something on while the kids are trick or treating. But Trick or Treat is actually what I watch on Halloween every year.
Very fitting.
It's one of my favorite Mike Doherty films. So, but it is well done, and he did a Christmas movie called Krampus that I really enjoy too. So,
Hey,
but
big shout out real quick while we're on the theater topic a little bit. Like I've alluded to this maybe off the pod before. I think I might have touched on it once or twice. A friend of ours, Dan Reyes,
yeah,
has written now 2 scripts. Movie scripts is what he's always wanted to do. I really pushed him to like what he got to lose, right? He's entering it into some contests, and one of them is a horror movie. I was like, not my favorite subject matter, but you absolutely killed it. And I gave him a bunch of notes, and then a bunch of people that know what they're talking about gave him a bunch of notes. I just want to throw out a big thumbs up to my boy. I love you to death, bro. Honorable mention for American Screenplay Garage Sale Demon, written by Daniel Reyes for the Chicago Script Awards in 2024. Let's fucking go.
Bravo.
Let's fucking go, dude. Like, this is insane. He's got filmmakers, producers, editors, audio techs, directors, investors, actors, comedians, scriptwriters, content creators, and videographers. Join the Simon Paul Johnson hosted Fraternal Order of Eagles shop for creative mixers he's going to. But honorable mention, which means you're in the top 3 at American Screenplay this year for a first-time script that he has never publicly produced anything like this. Let's go, dude. So
That's
like
fantastic.
I have draft 1 still because I'm one of the early reviewers. I will not make this public. It's not my IP. But I do want you to read it when you come down here next month.
Okay.
I think you'll get a kick out of it. I'm getting a wall of text from this guy all week long. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm just elated for my boy. I love you, buddy. Keep going. Like just
That's
keep
fantastic.
keep
Good
going."
for you, Dan.
Yeah. So anyway, as an aside,
and
he's winning awards. Go figure.
Nobody deserves it more than that guy.
100%.
So yeah, you know, unrecognized genius in that kid, and I hope he gets all of the recognition that you and I both know he deserves. So
Yeah. Awesome.
But
So, what else? I didn't mean to cut you off there. I know you had something else before we get to the gospel.
Oh, nope.
Is
That's
it time?
That's it for me. Yep, it's gospel time.
It's time.
I need to be pulled out of my horror coma and a little salt and light, spread on my life right now.
Well, friends, it's chapter 26. It's lost sheep, right? And it comes with this beautiful illustration here. Just to throw that out there. Reminder, we do this every week until the content's gone. The Gospel by Gen Z is this book. Chapter 26, Lost Sheep. The Karens were salty, and they said, Jesus low-key be vibing with thotties and creeps. But Jesus said, bruh, y'all be playing too much. Do you really think they're for the streets? All you see are red flags, and you cancel so fast. But that's not how you're going to get peace. Consider our boy Sean. Little bro just spawned, and he's saying, can I pet that dog? He don't need a Karen, but rather a real one who will protect him at all costs. Let the will of the
dog.
Right? Let the will of the top G live in your heart rent free, that you should have no enemies. For when the Delulu clearly see as you do, all will emote with the top G. It's good. That's good advice. It's good advice.
That is great advice.
That's amazing. Lost Sheep 26. There it is. I can't wait for next week.
Just go to the scripture.
I kind of want to save next week's for election night, but it's house divided, chapter 27, it turns out.
Ooh.
It's going to be a good time. And I'm not going to
have to do it before because I don't think we'll have time to do that during election night.
That's true. Just do a quick gospel by Gen Z segment. So yeah, man, we're probably just over the halfway mark with this thing.
Hey man, we still have at least another half a year of content with that. Though,
I know, right? Can you believe how many episodes we've done?
I don't know how many we've done. How many have we done now?
I got to log in and pull this up so that I don't speak untruths. Please log into my dashboard. We have done 42 episodes. Tonight is 43. We're almost at the 50 mark, man. Can you believe that?
Ooh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And that's almost 52 weeks in a year, but we, with all the times that we've had to skip for whatever reason, it's still pretty consistent, and I'm pretty happy with those numbers. Those are good numbers. If
you guys are wondering, just inside baseball, where the titles of the audio episodes come from, they are directly off the top of my head. And nobody has to say in them because I write them as they come in. So if you're wondering why last week's episode was called Presenting the Warthog, looks like some sort of cat, it's a puma. It's because I love red versus blue, and you should too.
Red versus blue, yeah.
It's a puma.
I should probably bring that up for Oliver. I think Oliver would really love the early red versus blue stuff.
Dude,
it was genius.
That was great because we met them dudes at PAX West that one year. They were all there next to the Bungie booth. It was really sick. Like that was years ago. I think Kate was barely walking around.
Yeah, that was the time that I used my child in order for you to get to meet Olivia Munn.
That's true.
And so she was sitting there in a beanbag on her laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before Olivia Munn had broken into like cinema. She was still just doing what was that?
It was like a nerdcast type of
video game. I think it was Canadian.
I don't even know. Probably.
But
seems all the best things are.
Yep. She was sitting over there, and you had mentioned that that she was fanciful.
She was fanciful lady.
Yeah.
At Olivia Munn.
You want to meet her? And you're like, I don't want to bother her. It's like, oh no, watch this. And I said, hey, Kate. And Kate's in a little dress.
Yeah.
She's like
G4. Thank you, Chad.
Yeah. And she's in a little dress, and I go, hey, Kate, see that lady over there? And she goes, yeah. And I was like, go run over there and just go give her a big hug. And she goes, okay.
Yeah.
And she goes running over there and just jumps on Olivia Munn and like hugs her. And she's like, oh my goodness, you're so cute. And I went running over. I'm so sorry. She got away from me. I'm so sorry. I hope she didn't hurt you. And she goes,
I think it was weird then next when I did that, right? And then I grabbed and she's like,
and it's like, and this is Angel. And I threw you. Yeah. So, No, but then I was like, oh, and this is my brother Angel. Ha 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 ha. And yeah, it was.
And then he like slowly creeps into the background. I do remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was.
that's why you have kids.
Yeah, niece is a good wingman, wing woman.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Thanks, Kate.
Many moons ago.
Well,
But
cool.
anyway.
I think that's it for our show tonight. I love all of you guys for hanging out with us. It's been fun.
Thank you.
It's going to be a good time
Thank you,
going
everybody.
forward too. Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right,
I
dude.
gotta go put some stuff on the smoker.
Enjoy
per
the rest of your
usual.
evening. Then we're going to get out of here. We will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Adios.